Okay, everybody, here is our second tutorial for the week. Um, I'm going to show you a method for making wood planks. I used this at work a few times, so it's basically a way to use some pre-existing brushes, um, or your proxy geo as a guide and what we call kit bashing. I'm going to be using this brush set here. It's Zbrush 20 wood brushes. It's $4. It's really awesome. I will include this link on the demonstration page if you guys want to grab it. Um, so one of the problems a lot of people have, and not just students, is when they're using kit bashing. They just use the object right out of whatever set it is and don't edit it, so you get really weird results that don't look right, and then people wonder why it doesn't look right. So we're going to go over this in detail. So I've just got a standard cube here, ZBrush, um, and away we go. So I'm going to scale this bad boy up until it resembles a piece of wood. Um, this is just standard Z modeler stuff you guys should know already. So just say that's good for our plank, maybe a little bit, but a little bit longer. Give us some. So this would be the geo that you would bring in from Maya or wherever, just your proxy geo. And I'm going to switch over to one of the brushes that comes with that pack called, I think, Wood Insert Mesh Brush. So I'll show you what a lot of people would do with this. You would just get a couple pieces here. And this is what you would get. And they would just basically take one of these pieces and stretch it around until it fits the size that they want. And then you get this kind of half-assed, crappy looking thing. And that's not what we want. So let's undo this, get back to our piece of wood. So first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and make a grid. The grid topology isn't important. We're just going to use it for layout purposes. So we're going to go in here. Let's append our grid and go ahead and orient this in the right direction. Subtool. There we go. I'm just going to stretch it around a little bit just to make sure we get our whole object covered. That works. That works. Just so you know, I'm using transparency here. That's why it was ghosted. So I'm going to go back to this object. Oh, I'm not going to go back to the grid. So we've got our grid and our piece of wood. I'll make sure that they're kind of laying on top of one another. So let me move this. There we go. And this piece of wood we're going to make is going to be so we can have it. You can use both sides of it. And be reused a lot. So I'm gonna bring that brush up, and I'm gonna start with this wood part 03, and just click and drag. Let's get this oriented the right direction here. Go back to this. See, for some reason I'm not getting the right piece. Let's check out the brush. Let's go into here, under brushes, click on modifiers. So we've got multi-mesh, so we're going to put this to 0. So whatever mesh we've got selected will be the one that comes up. Multi-mesh selects, it'll rotate through a random value. That's if you want to use it over and over again. So I'm going to grab this, and we're going to move it into place. You want the surface just to kind of overlay, just like that. What's going on? What's going on here? Oh, undo. Alright, so I want to move this place just in the general area. That's good. So then we're going to go back to our unmask that to our brushes here. I'm going to grab another one of these and drag it in. Now the trick to this is really want to match this grain size here. So these cracks, you want them to be pretty similar. You don't want one to be too big, too small. You want to look like, wants to look like one piece of wood. And you're just going to have to eyeball it. So you can kind of see how all these cracks look similar in scale. It's really important to be able to do that. I'm going to move this guy up into here just a tad. That's good. And then I'm going to go grab another one of these and click and drag. Same process here. And grab this, move it out. Just kind of eyeballing it. This might need to be a little bit smaller. Say about there. Pretty good. Let's go grab another one of these. I'm going to grab this one. This time, I'm just going to rotate it so we see the other side of it. So, and this doesn't have to be exact because we're going to be sculpting. Whoa, we're going to be sculpting over top of this. So let's move it up here. So as you can see, this is a lot of transposing, at least in the beginning. Push that over and in so we kind of fix that breaking point that we had. All these cracks look good. So I'm going to insert one last one. I'm going to use the same top piece again. Right piece. Nope. This piece. And selector's gone back again. If that happens, just click the multi-mesh select and go back. So I've got this guy, and I'm going to rotate it around so we see the back side of it. See how this isn't the same as this now? So You can get a lot of mileage out of using these things as long as you're using them correctly. Let's see. Go ahead. It's over here a bit. Pretty good. I'm gonna grab this one. Try it because I don't think these are poly grouped. They are. Got a mask on there. Oh, I'm gonna split these out. Basically, so now we've got this piece, and if you look at this, this is all laid out into one piece. So what I'm gonna do with this is just split it. Do a group split. I was gonna say, do you want to do that? Yes, we want to do that. So here's our grid. Delete the grid off. We're gonna grab these guys down, and we're gonna merge them, merge them. So now we've got a piece of wood. So you can see this is not perfect, but this is really gonna get us far and close to when we start sculpting. So next we're gonna dynamesh this. Well, we're gonna dupe it off first, and then we're gonna dynamesh it because the dynamesh is gonna lose a little bit of resolution. So let's dynamesh these guys together. Not enough resolution. Go up to 100. Pretty good. It should be enough to hold our sculpt. So here is our base piece of wood, which is already really nice. Let me grab my tablet here real quick. So one thing we can do, I'm going to just try something a little different. We can try grabbing a alpha off of this piece of wood. So I'm going to go onto the back and back up here to our super high res mesh. Go up this. This is pretty good. Then I'm going to go to alpha, and I'm going to click this button here called grab dock. So it's going to grab a piece of that wood. We don't have, it doesn't have to be perfect. We just want some grain out of there. Yeah. So now we've got our alpha. So let's start sculpt. See, this guy here has caused an issue. It's just too far off. Let's see. Let's try fixing this in the sculpt. See what happens. Let's see here. This will work. So I am going to just mask this off, invert it, and I'm going to move this just a bit. This may not work, and it may work. Who knows? We'll see what happens. And go. Works pretty good. Let's keep that. I'm going to keep this mask here. Clear everything off. Grab this mask and invert it, but then I'm going to expose all my geo, and I'm going to move that there. That should work. So redynamesh thing. We're going to start sculpting. So first thing I would do with this is I'm going to go in with the trim dynamic brush, a pretty big brush, and I'm going to knock this stuff back here. And then I'm going to go in with clay tubes, build this surface back up. This is so we'll get a nice even level surface. And this is actually good because I can show you how to repair this type of thing. So the trick is to make sure this doesn't look like it's been welded from several pieces. Um, we'll get it there. So Dynamesh. Go back to our trim dynamic. Subdivided here somehow. Let's see what we've got. Dynamesh. There we go. So I'm gonna knock some of this crappy stuff here. And this is going to happen sometimes. You're going to get these artifacts from Dynamesh. Usually if you just remesh, it'll fix itself. Let's go ahead and trim this stuff back. So that works pretty good. So now let's try using that alpha that we made. See what this is going to do for this. This may not work. It may work. Just going to see what we see. That's not going to work. Let's try masking with that alpha. Let's try masking that alpha. Guess it helps if you have the right tool. So let's use mask rectangle and try masking with this alpha. There we go. And let's see what we get. Off, on, invert. Just kind of run this over. Kind of see how it's bringing our grain back in. Grain from that alpha. Not perfect, but it's going to work. So pull that off. Back to our trim dynamic. So you can kind of see this is getting muddy. Too smooth. We're going to fix that. Go ahead and do this again. So what we can do is go back to our insert mesh brush. Let's give this another crack. Here. Let's go in. Here. Turn that off. What we're going to do is try to do something like this. And we're going to get it into position. So around that. I'll probably pull it off just a bit. So yeah, there we go. That works. So we're going to Dynamesh that sucker in there. Fix that spot. So now you just want to deal with these larger areas here. So again, trim dynamic. And I'm going to use a square alpha now with the trim dynamic brush just to make sure we don't keep getting these round edges. You want to kind of sculpt with the surface, the direction of the surface that you're trying to do here. So this is all vertical detail, so we want to make sure things are going vertical. I'm going to switch to another brush that I have got that I'll post in the group, and this is the wood grain brush. Just going to slowly go in, kind of continue some of this grain that we've got. So you're using the insert mesh as a guide. And they'll do something like this. You want to make sure you Don't make things regular. Add some variation to it. Match the surface around. So let me see. I'm gonna grab this. That's just going in and sculpting. So, and you see we've got some of these areas that have these really large chisels. We're going to use a mallet brush. So click your light box, go to brush, go to mallet, mallet brush. Mallet brush fast. This does some pretty good gouges. So I'm going to go in here and smack this stuff back. So you can see when we're getting some nice gouge. And you see, you want to go through some of these wood grain, these little strokes that I did, and I want to make sure that they don't look even, that they look natural. Let me go through and knock some of this stuff around here. Clay tubes works well for that as well. So clay tubes with a negative value will give you some nice surface detail in there. So we're just going to knock some of this stuff in. You can see like got places like this. So you can see there's going to be there's a break there. So we're going to go in and just fill this area in. Dynamesh. Back to our wood grain. Here, I'm going to switch on Lazy Mouse. It's up pretty high. So we can start running gouges through here. That look like crap. Maybe lower the intensity. Yeah, that's nice. You want to just kind of just be very gentle with some of this stuff. Always look around at the surface that we're dealing with. Try to match it. So you get these kind of uneven gouges here. Clay tubes works well for that. So we'll just go in and grab some clay tube here. Kind of knock some of these surfaces back. If you get stepping in your clay tubes, like you can see here, trim dynamic works well to get rid of that without making the surface too smooth. So you want to go through and just get rid of anything that looks like it could be a seam. It's almost like texture painting. So go in here, look, kind of see this stuff that's happening on the edge. So we're gonna grab that so it's not obvious. We can also maybe use a little bit of, yeah, let's try that. We're gonna mask this off and use the move brush. So mask here. Lasso this off. I'm gonna expose the area that you're going to move, obviously. Here. This off. That'll work. And then we're just gonna use the move brush. Kind of just this out. mesh that again. Trim dynamic. Tubes. And this kind of thing here, this doesn't really bother me that much. It looks pretty natural. I'm actually going to knock this down to make that transition a little better. Yeah, works. This is pretty easy to deal with because, I mean, if there's damage, it looks natural. Because it's just an old piece of wood. So I'm going to go in some more wood grain in here. Don't go too crazy with it because you want it to look natural. Back with the trim dynamic. Back. This in. Let's take a look at what's going on here. We're gonna add a lot of clay in this area. It's too much of a gouge. You can kind of avoid those gouges if you're a little bit more careful about placing pieces of wood. I was kind of going quick at it. So you can see, let's go in here. Dynamic. Trim dynamic is like the go-to. It does such a good job at smoothing things without making it look too smooth. Go back through with grain. Deep spot. Just kind of continue this other piece. Remember, you don't want everything all the same depth or all the same size. Just all about making it look natural. So if I want to go in with the clay tubes, knock some of this out so it doesn't just look like it's a perfect piece of wood. Some of this out. A lot of this is just feel, just sculpting. So I'm gonna knock this back, bring this up. Don't worry, you are going to go over places that you've already hit. Just a matter of going at it. Another good brush. Now it's probably the best for this. Another good brush is the Planar Brush. It's not as predictable as the mallet. And especially for wood. I mean, we want to try to get this surface to be pretty even as far as how it's been planed. What I mean by that is even this way. So I just go ahead and look for any bad areas. So I'm going to use another brush in that pack. There's a wood grain brush. Does this kind of thing, which works nice. Just going to just make sure you're paying attention the direction and size and scale of your grain. You're doing this kind of stuff. This is still kind of bothering me here. So let's see what we can do about that. Another wood grain. See if I can. Yeah, it's a little bit too tense. It's actually not too bad. Let's see what happens. Trim dynamic over this. A lot of times it's not one brush that'll get you there. It's a combination. Most of the time. See what we get. Yeah, that works. Smooth some of this out. And then we'll go back in with the wood grain again. Let's do a really light touch. Go back to clay tubes, fill in some of this easy detail. Go, better. So now I've got a lot of noise here, so I don't want to fix that by just kind of checking the surrounding area. Now, this is a perfect example of, let's try using some layers. So we're going to go in with the layer brush, or the layer palette here. It's under layers, just make a new layer. I'm going to drag this wood, which is really strong. See how it's really kind of cutting into that, but then all I have to do is take this layer down, pull it down, little, and go. So now we've got that in there, but it's not overpowering a little bit. I'll let you dial things in. Looks pretty good. Let's see. This is a little bit soft. So let's go in with the trim dynamic and just kind of, yeah. So you got to make sure this is recording. If you're going to go back into this layer, so usually I'll just bake all and just you don't want too many layers because it'll get confused. Is it really confusing really fast? If you've never used layers before, I suggest looking into them. Check the documentation. That's better. Run some grain through it. It's a slight. I might even go in and add some more just to make this all look the same as far as consistency goes. Drag out a little bit more of this. Start center, drag it here, dial it back, time, make it works. So you can see this is it's really just a matter of working through the sculpt. There's no secret here. Just using your artistic eye. Let's trim some of this out. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect, just needs to hold up. So you can see that brush kind of leaked through to the other side, so I'm just going to trim dynamic it back. Nice. This piece is kind of sticking out over here, so I think we're gonna mask it out. This is one cool thing about Dynamesh is that when I mask this out, and then invert it, high points, delete. Now I've got this cut. When I Dynamesh it, just looks like a nice cut in the wood. So there you go. It's pretty good. You can, I mean, obviously you can keep going on this for some time. I can also bring this intensity down on this and just add some overall noise. Let's add some of this just to help some of those smooth spots out. Here, this, grab some of that. There we go. If you get spots that are kind of smooth, it's okay. Gotta remember, this is just your sculpt. This isn't even color or anything. So one issue we've got a top here that matches the top here, so we need to fix that. You just use the move brush. Just kind of move this around a bit. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Our auto masking, yeah. It's on. There we go. That backface masking on my move brush is what was causing that weird artifact. So we just want to make sure this is a little bit different than that top so we can use it over and over again. There we go. Perfectly good plank, and you can see that we have a front and a back side here, so this could be used. Ooh, look at that. Pretty cool. This can be used over and over and over again. Interesting. As you can see, I mean, I still don't have the this rotate thing, the rotate transpose still totally figured out. I still screw it up. It's good. There. It's down. So, as you can see, you could use with making you made 2 or 3 of these, and you got enough to easily make a house or a fence. So yeah, there we go. That is the demo. I will post the links to those brushes in the demonstration page, and yeah, happy sculpting. I'll see you guys later. Bye.